Mary Poppins, what is the meaning of this outrage?
I beg your pardon?
Will you be good enough to explain all this?
First of all, I would like to make one thing quite clear.
Yes?
I never explain anything.
Hey, Cassettes, and welcome back to the Black Case Diaries.
Hello.
Hi. We're three old dancing penguins learning everything we can about movies and TV and hopefully teaching you in the process. I'm Robin.
I'm Marcy.
And I'm Adam.
In the summer of 1964, Walt Disney released his latest live-action film. Although his studio began by focusing on animated movies, Disney had been producing several live-action classics starting in 1950 with Treasure Island, which he followed up with films like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and Old Yeller. But this picture, a musical starring a young, lesser-known stage actress as the title character, would become Disney's crown jewel. It was a film with all the right ingredients: music, magic, family, and a spoonful of sugar.
Dude, It's so weird to say lesser known, stage actress.
A barely known stage actress.
Like a scrub newbie.
Yeah. If you were familiar with the Broadway scene, just like musical scene, you knew who she was.
Knew.
Right.
But
Because she was a star in terms of that. But in film, Mary Poppins became an instant classic the moment it premiered 60 years ago. Based on the books by Pamela Lyndon Travers, it was a film over 20 years in the making. Yet, it took the world by surprise. Not only was it filled with memorable songs and unforgettable performances, it also blew audiences away with its incredible visual effects. But even deeper than that, this film was riddled with deeply personal touches by Walt Disney himself. And the story touched the hearts of moviegoers everywhere. While most adults may have expected a film made for and about children, they soon found that the movie's greatest lesson wasn't for children at all.
oh,
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
This is Disney has a long tradition of the gut punches, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Disney's really good about, luring you into a false sense of security. Oh, I'll just take my kid to see this silly movie. And you sit down, and then by the end, your kid's fine, but you are a mess.
Yeah.
destroyed.
Yeah. And Mary Poppins is truly, it's one of those movies. You watch it when you're a kid, you're just like, you just see the kid side of things.
Yeah.
Wow, look at these adventures. This is so fun and
Wow.
happy, and I love the songs.
I want to jump into a chalk.
Yeah, look at this.
I want to dance on rooftops.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And then, the adult side, the parent side, it's like,
Yeah.
oh my God. And it's so cool too, because it's a movie, I think, that it really thrives on nostalgia. And when you watch it, it really, I cry thinking about this movie. And it's a lot of it's because of nostalgia. But I think that it was immediately nostalgic.
It may be a caricature of 1910, I think is what it was.
Yeah.
But it still feels like pretty accurate too.
Yeah.
Especially if you were British.
I don't know, a lot of people maybe really remembered what it was like to be a kid and thought about like the relationship they had with their parents, specifically fathers, where it's like historically, those relationships are usually strained. And I think that's, this is something that was a little bit of a surprise. I think people were like, oh shit.
Yeah. What? Go back to the Penguins.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So hold on tight to your umbrellas, Cassettes. The winds of change are headed this way. Come with us on an adventure into the history of Mary Poppins. Yay!
I recognize that silhouette anywheres. I can't do the voice. As being somebody who doesn't watch musicals often, this was one that was still got into the zeitgeist of movies that I watched. But I had forgotten how long it was.
Yeah.
And how many of the iconic songs that I think about are from this movie.
Yeah.
It's just like moments kept happening where I'm like, yeah, that is from Mary Poppins too.
Yeah.
I
don't even, this is a movie I grew up watching, so I don't remember the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
Same.
It's one that my dad loves, and so we watched it many times growing up. But I always really loved Bert, and I always was so interested in the one-man band thing and all of that, and I loved the the touches of magic. It's not like high fantasy.
No.
And not everyone can do magic, but she does these little bits of magic that everybody's like, whoa, oh my God. And she's just like, it's whatever. It's not, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, the night after they jump into the chalk drawing.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, that was so much fun. Let's do it again. She's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you even talking about? I was like,
I don't
you remember the merry-go-round that the horses jumped off and we did you won the race. Like, what? Stop.
I
go
don't
to
get
sleep.
It. Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yep.
Yes.
She was also very good at making you think it was your idea, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll first talk a little bit about how Mary Poppins came to be and how Disney kind of acquired Mary Poppins. As we listed off some of Disney's earliest live-action films, you might have noticed a theme. They were all based on books. The story goes that it was Walt's daughter Diane that first showed him P.L. Travers' books about a magical nanny, and the filmmaker was determined to adapt the story to film. We're going to start this episode by talking a little about the source material that inspired the 1964 film. P.L. Travers published the first Mary Poppins book in 1934. It followed a magical nanny who was blown by the east wind to 17 Cherry Tree Lane. She looks after the Banks children and takes them on various adventures. Each chapter acts as its own story, so there isn't one storyline that connects them all.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
So you could just be like, okay, let's read this chapter tonight. And it could be any chapter in the book.
That's cool.
Pamela Lyndon Travers was born Helen Lyndon Goff on August 9th, 1899 in Maryborough, Queensland, Australia. According to her biographers, she had a difficult upbringing as her father was an alcoholic who died when Travers was only 7 years old from influenza, leaving the family destitute. After his death, Pamela's mother attempted suicide. Shortly after these events, Travers' great aunt Ellie moved in and helped bring order to the household. Many believe that Ellie was the chief inspiration for Mary Poppins.
She was very kind, but stern, and really just brought the order that was needed.
Yeah.
You know, kind of swept in and fixed everything, and that's, you know, and a lot of people said, you know, oh, she was, you know, the inspiration for Mary Poppins, but P.L. Travers never said that.
Confirmed
she never
or said.
Right.
She didn't really like talking about her personal life, and sometimes people would be like, well, hey, is Mary Poppins based on your life? And she would say something like, Mary Poppins is my life.
After Walt's daughter Diane introduced him to the book, he was entranced by the character. But when he attempted to secure the rights from Travers, she turned him down. For 20 years, Walt attempted to appeal to the author, but she had heard too many stories about films destroying the work of other authors, and she was reluctant to give up her beloved character.
It's kind of understandable, right? We're talking about, like, you know, how important this character probably is to her, and she doesn't really want to give it up. And
honestly, even today, I would still feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'd be so nervous to give my, if I wrote a book, to give it to a film company. So.
In 1944, Walt tried again and sent his brother to try to persuade her, but Travers wouldn't budge. In 1959, Walt decided he would make a house call to see if he could convince her. This was when he finally got some permission. He showed up, and she said he was incredibly charming.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And really what it was that she needed money.
Yeah.
And she was going to get an advance.
Yeah.
And she was going to get some of the royalties of the movie. Production began, and Walt pulled together a team of writers and animators to start work on the film. Unbeknownst to them, Disney had promised Travers final approval. After 2 years of work, the author arrived in Hollywood for meetings about the movie. She was not pleased with what she saw, demanding several changes.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Change it all.
These meetings with her from 1961 were recorded, and she told the writers that they should read the book very carefully for the atmosphere. It was also integral for her that Mary Poppins would never be impolite to anybody. These recordings are available in part on YouTube, and we will link to them in the blog, so you can...
Oh, right.
Nice.
Yeah, it's interesting how even in some situations where she's getting, like, I don't want to say reprimanded, but like Mr. Banks is like upset with the way things are going.
Yeah.
And kind of taking it out on Mary Poppins a little bit. But she never snaps back at him.
No. Yep. Travers did not want any animation in the film, and she also was displeased with the final version of the story. After she screened the finished product, she reportedly asked Disney when she could start making cuts. Walt informed her that she was only given final approval of the script and not editing rights, so the film was left unchanged.
Oh, snap.
She was pissed.
What would
I
she
bet.
have cut, I wonder?
Yeah.
Oh, the animation. She
All
was
of it?
very upset. She didn't want any animation, and they kind of didn't tell her that they were going to do
doing
that.
it.
Yeah. This conflict is depicted in the 2013 movie Saving Mr. Banks. And while much of the film is based on true events, it also is a work of fiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why you
Interesting.
always look up what really happened afterwards.
Right, exactly. All right. For those of you who haven't seen the wonderful movie that we're discussing,
Yeah.
here is a summary for you. Jane and Michael Banks are two children longing for the attention of their parents, who are too busy to spend time with their kids. After the children have scared off the last nanny, Mr. and Mrs. Banks begin searching for a new one. The only one who seemingly responded to their advertisement is Mary Poppins, a whimsical woman who takes the children on incredible adventures. While the children are enamored with their new nanny, Mr. Banks believes that she is filling their heads with nonsense. With the help of Mary Poppins and Bert, a friendly street urchin, Mr. Banks begins to learn that his dedication to work has made him forget what's really important.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, so now we're going to start a little bit of our making of. We're going to begin that. 2 years after P.L. Travers met with the Disney filmmakers about the script, Disney began filming the project. The entire film was shot on a soundstage at Walt Disney Studios in Burbank, California. Robert Stevenson had directed many of Disney's live-action films before sitting in the director's chair for Mary Poppins. He would later go on to direct Bedknobs and Broomsticks, another memorable Disney film.
Yeah.
Bill Walsh and Don DeGrady, two successful screenwriters of films like The Shaggy Dog and Lady and the Tramp, penned the screenplay, with the help of P.L. Travers, of course.
Yeah.
Emil Curry and Hal Gussman were the set decorators responsible for creating the beautiful locations in the Banks' home, the bank, and the stone-covered streets of London. Curry had previously won an Oscar for his work on Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, while Gussman would go on to create sets for films like The Blues Brothers and Back to the Future.
Pretty cool.
That's
man, that
really
is cool.
neat.
Yeah. The sets in this movie are so important because
Yeah.
that's all they had. Nothing was shot on location.
Yeah. Nope.
Everything was on the set.
But I really like the Banks' home. One,
Yeah.
it's genuinely nice. It's
Yeah.
like a very rich, ritzy home.
Yeah.
You know, lots
Posh.
of
Yeah.
very
Yes.
posh. Yes. But the whole thing about the Admiral
Oh, yes,
firing
next
his
door.
cannon
Oh,
and
man.
like every on the hour or however often he does it, they're like positions and they have to catch all the fancy
Hey,
stuff.
you think your upstairs neighbors are bad?
You know what I mean?
Seriously.
Cracks
Man.
me up, man.
Ghosts everyone! 4, 3, 2, 1, fire!
One of the most groundbreaking and influential aspects of Mary Poppins are the special and visual effects. The film utilized animatronics, wires, and of course, good old-fashioned hand-drawn animation. Hell yeah.
Yes.
One of the most famous special effects was the animatronic robin bird that rests on Mary Poppins' finger in A Spoonful of Sugar. The small robotic animal was an early version of the animatronics that would become synonymous with Disney's theme park attractions. It was one of the first ever uses of an animatronic in a film.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It
It's
is.
just this little all this kind of wiggles and the beak flaps.
Yeah, it's
Has
so
the-
cute.
Yeah.
Little tail.
Yes, and then there's two in the tree also. I think, that also,
Yes.
Hanging out the nest.
cute.
They were just a hopping and a bopping.
Right, and I love the part. I love the part where Mr. Banks has a headache and he tells the maid to like shush the bird.
Yes.
She goes out the window. It's like, you're giving the master a headache, and the bird's like, sorry. Basically,
My bad.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love these animatronics. I wish that they were still in movies
Yeah.
it would be cool
because it's like they look pretty real.
They do.
I mean, think about the level they're at now.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This was 1964.
Yeah,
Like,
the not to bring up this movie again, but
which one do you think is going to bring up?
Oh gosh, I'd have so many
Jurassic Park.
guesses. Yes.
yeah, I mean,
absolutely.
that's that. Also, amazing animatronics, right?
Yes.
So you're absolutely right. I think they should come
Yeah.
back in a big way.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The bird singing was originally done by a professional whistler, but Walt thought that there was not enough personality, so Julie Andrews whistled for the bird instead. That's very
That's
interesting.
amazing.
Yeah.
The animatronic Robin had a lot of wires that went up Julie's arm. She had to hold the bird in just the right way so that the wires would not show.
Yeah. She said it kind of tested the patience.
Yeah, I bet. In the scene where the children meet Uncle Albert, wires helped the actors float to the ceiling. They were only a couple of feet off the ground, but Matthew Garber, who plays Little Michael, was afraid of heights. In order to entice the young boy to spend time up there, somebody had offered him a dime for every time that he did.
Made an extra little killing right
dime.
there.
Oh man.
Some close-ups in the scene were filmed with the actors on teeter-totters so that no wires would show up in the shot.
Yeah.
That's very funny.
I didn't know that, but I just feel like I did know that. You know
Yeah,
what
I mean the way that they kind of slowly
They're
bop
kinda
up
bobbing
and
around.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like okay, that makes sense.
You think they had 2 or 3 people on the other end
Other
just with their
end?
foot on
just
it?
like
just
yeah.
start holding it.
I mean, they must have something like that, man.
When Bert, Mary, and the children travel to an animated world, they are served by penguin waiters. Originally, they were meant to be human, but because waiters always reminded Disney of penguins, they chose to animate the animals instead. In order to place the actors in a fully animated world, Walt Disney consulted Petro Vlahos, an engineer and inventor. Vlahos opted out of using a blue screen for the animated sequences, although that was and still is a popular way of inserting characters into a different backdrop. Instead, he recommended using a white screen lit with sodium vapor lights. Why? Because sodium vapor, the same lights often used in street lamps, produces a light at an exact wavelength, one that is much smaller than the wavelength of a blue screen. This is such a precise,
Very interesting.
Yeah,
precise
the
wavelength.
science. Yeah,
Yeah, and so basically, you know how if you're wearing a blue shirt and you're in front of a blue screen,
yeah,
you're just a floating head,
Yeah.
right?
yeah.
Well, with this color of light, that's not going to happen
Yeah.
because that wavelength is so precise. It's so hard to find something the exact color
Yeah.
of that wavelength. Because of this, the costumes and props could be any color. This is why Bert can wear blue socks without his ankles disappearing in the shot. Sodium vapor allowed for more accuracy when isolating subjects, and it also meant that the subjects didn't have to be lit as perfectly as they normally would in front of a blue screen. Blue screen effects also required special effects artists to manipulate the film strips to create the final image. But Vlahos fixed this problem as well by designing a special prism that separated the specific hue of sodium vapor from the rest of the colors. This isolation happened in camera and created a precise silhouette where the animation backdrop could be inserted.
Dude, it's almost like this technology is better.
I know.
Yeah.
Why
It's
do they bother with blue
incredible.
screens
Yeah.
now?
It's incredible.
But I hear it was super expensive.
I guess that's the trade, yeah.
Yeah.
Vlahos won an Oscar for his work on Mary Poppins, and he would eventually perfect the chroma key process, the technique that uses specific color screens for visual effects. He's considered the father of the modern blockbuster.
Wow.
Very cool.
Damn.
Dick Van Dyke enjoyed acting in the animated scenes because he thought it was a good exercise in miming, since the actors interacted with animals that weren't there. The kids weren't as experienced with this, so they were reacting to cardboard cutouts of the animals with crew members moving them around so that the children would know where to look. I feel like I would need that too.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe.
Like, what? Where am I? What? Frank Thomas was the animator for the Penguins. When he received the video of Dick Van Dyke, he had to come up with inventive ways for Dick not to step on them. So he had them duck and slide out of the way.
Yeah.
Which I think makes it more charming. You know,
Yeah.
these little penguins just like slip sliding around him to not get kicked and hit.
Yeah, it's great. The children were often surprised by the magic that Disney was able to pull with their practical effects. The medicine being 2 colors, the amount of items pulled out of Mary Poppins' bag, and the animatronic bird were just a few. Early on in filming, the special effects team took molds of the children's bottoms so that they could create a special harness for them to wear as they slide up the staircase in one of the film's most iconic moments. Peter Ellenshaw was asked to create 100 matte paintings for the detailed backdrops in Mary Poppins. He had worked on films like Treasure Island and 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. Matte paintings were often created for scenic backdrops in films and later composited behind actors. They are still used today and are more often computer-generated than hand-painted.
Yeah.
In the late afternoon cityscape for this film, Ellenshaw put small holes in the paintings so that the effects artist could wire little lights that would gradually light the city. The costumes in Mary Poppins were designed by Tony Walton, Julie Andrews' then husband. When Walt Disney was speaking with Julie about the role, he asked what her husband did for a living. When she told him that Tony designed sets and costumes, Disney asked to see his portfolio.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That is cool.
That is pretty
Yeah.
cool. It's all who you know, really.
Exactly. I was
yeah.
going to say he got a job because his wife did at the time.
But really quick, to step back about the cityscapes,
Yes.
it's one of my favorite kind of looks of the
Yeah.
movie. Even though it's, I don't want to call it dirty, but it's unlike the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
These few scenes, because it's darker. The smoke is very black because they're burning like coal, I assume.
Yeah.
It must be something
Yep.
like that, right? Because it's very black smoke. They all get covered in soot. It's very funny, but it's still really this beautiful piece because it's so the orange of the sunset, and it darkens to even nighttime.
Yeah.
And then one of my favorite, we'll get to the songs later, but one of my favorite dance pieces with Step in Time and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
it's great.
Yeah, it really has that industrial look.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, this is the early 20th century.
Yep.
Lots of industry going on.
Yeah.
It's dirty.
It's like, you spend all this time at the bank's house and on that street where all the houses are nice and
Yeah.
pristine. And then you get on the roofs and you see the rest of London where it's not all like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yet it's still put in kind of a positive light
Yeah.
through the lens of, Mary Poppins and the kids. So
Yeah. It's the chimney sweep world.
yeah.
Yes.
The performances in Mary Poppins left a lasting impression on the audience, with its principal star still holding a special place in viewers' hearts nearly 60 years later. Julie Andrews was cast in the breakout role of a lifetime as Mary Poppins. Others were considered for the role, such as Mary Martin, Betty Davis, and Angela Lansbury. But when Disney saw an episode of The Ed Sullivan Show that featured Julie Andrews and Richard Burton singing What Do the Simple Folk Do from the Broadway musical Camelot, he knew he found his Mary Poppins. Walt Disney then went to New York to see the Camelot performance. Afterwards, he approached Julie and tried to convince her to accept the part. In a recent interview, Andrews says that she explained to Disney that it wasn't a good time for her because she was pregnant. But Disney insisted, and he told her, "That's okay, we'll wait."
Aw.
Wow. Damn, he must
He wanted
have-
her that much.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
he's like, there will be no one else in
Yeah,
my movie.
he's like, it matters, it
Yes. You are perfect.
matters. Yeah. Andrews was not well known at this point in her career, and she actually had wanted to do the film version of My Fair Lady, which filmed at the same time. Although she originated the lead role in My Fair Lady on Broadway, Audrey Hepburn was cast instead. Pamela Travers loved Julie Andrews' performance, and her portrayal of Mary Poppins cemented Julie's status as a pop culture icon. She would go on to star in The Sound of Music soon after.
Oh, yeah.
Yay.
Which is another absolute powerhouse of a musical.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
And we say she wasn't well known, but she was in the musical, like the stage community she was. You know, it's just that she wasn't well known in films, and because she had actually never been in one before.
Yeah.
Like she really, this was her first major motion picture. It's her first role, and she absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Oh, yeah.
Now then, the qualifications. Item 1, a cheery disposition. I am never cross. Item 2, rosy cheeks. Obviously. Item 3, play games all sorts. Well, I'm sure the children will find my games extremely diverting.
Comedian Dick Van Dyke was perfect as Bert, the chimney sweep. He also played Mr. Dawes Sr. Disney was reading an article in the paper about what people thought of cinema at the time. In the article, Dick Van Dyke had commented that he did not like the way in which movies were trending towards what he deemed dirty pictures. Disney agreed. Yeah. Okay. Disney agreed, and so he had a look at some of Dick's work and asked him to come to the studio. They got along well, and very shortly Disney was offering Dick the part. Dick was a great addition to the cast, as he had loyal viewers of his TV show, and he had been in Bye Bye Birdie. Dick tried his best at a Cockney accent, but in a British magazine was named one of the top 20 worst dialecticians in the history of movies.
Whoops.
Yeah, not a lot of people think he did a great job with that. But the British did forgive him for his performance.
It's a fantasy movie, and we all just kind of pretend that that's what British people sound like.
Yeah.
Mary Poppins, you look beautiful.
Do you really think so?
Cross my heart you do. Like the day I met you.
The character of Bert was a conglomerate of many characters from the book. Bert was made to be a jack-of-all-trades type character. He was a one-man band, a kite peddler, a chalk artist, a chimney sweep, and it seems like probably many more. And he compliments Mary in the best way and delivers some of the most heartfelt and poignant moments in the film. Bert acts as a narrator of sorts, who breaks the fourth wall and speaks directly to the audience. He has his own magic about him.
Mm-hmm.
At the beginning, it almost seems like he is magic too.
Yeah.
Or at least very familiar with magic, because he basically knows that Mary Poppins is coming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
You know, the wind blows and he's like, haha.
There she is.
Something's about to go down.
Yeah.
Glynis Johns plays the suffragette Mrs. Banks.
Oh, man.
Yes. Walt knew immediately who he wanted to play the mother. Glynis was called and asked to come to lunch with Disney and a few of the writers. Glynis was convinced she was going to be asked to play the part of Mary Poppins, and was disappointed to be offered the mother role instead. To entice her to join the movie, they created a song for her to sing. By the time she was back at her hotel, Disney called her up and played the first few bars of Sister Suffragette. Dang, he was like, get on it, guys.
Yeah.
We need to give her something good. Johns was a very talented actress who appeared in other films like The Court Jester. She retired from acting in 1999 and passed away this year at 100 years of age. Oh,
Yep.
Dang.
She lived to be 100. She made it.
Oh,
Wow.
she did.
David Tomlinson played Mr. Banks. Screenwriter Bill Walsh had seen David Tomlinson in several English films. They ordered them up for Disney, Don DeGrady, Robert Stevenson, and the Sherman Brothers to all watch together. They all agreed that David would be perfect for the part of the father, George Banks.
This is such an important role in the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
He undergoes the most change. He
Yeah.
really is a big focus.
Karen Dotrice played Jane Banks, and Matthew Garber played Michael Banks. They had previously done a Disney movie titled The Three Lives of Thomasina, which was a supernatural fantasy film about a young girl whose cat gets euthanized, only for the animal to survive and find its way back to its owner. Whoa, that's very interesting.
My dad really likes this movie. He told me years ago to watch it.
Both children's parents were stage actors, and Karen's father discovered Matthew and represented him as his agent. Karen appeared in the sequel Mary Poppins Returns in 2018.
Yeah.
Matthew unfortunately passed away at the young age of 21. Oh, that's too bad.
That's too young.
Ed Wynn plays Uncle Albert, the man who laughs so much that he can't keep his feet on the ground. Ed Wynn was a comedian and actor who got his start on the vaudeville stage. He had a pioneering radio show and eventually his own variety show. Everyone loved working with Ed, who appeared in several Disney films like Babes in Toyland and Alice in Wonderland as the Mad Hatter.
But I tried, really I did, my dear. But I so enjoy laughing, you know, and
All right, so now that we're done talking about the actors and all the making of and all that bullshit, we're going to talk about... I'm just kidding.
No.
I'm just kidding. But we are going to talk about the music and the songs.
Yay.
All right.
The real meat and potatoes of this.
You're not wrong.
Richard and Robert Sherman were a brother-songwriting duo that composed music for many of Disney's films, like The Sword and the Stone, The Jungle Book, The Aristocats, The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, and Bedknobs and Broomsticks. The Sherman brothers were staff songwriters at Disney. They wrote several popular songs before being hired by the studio. They are known for creating some of Disney's most iconic music, including the song It's a Small World After All.
Oh, they do love that one.
Yeah.
The pair spent 2.5 years writing 34 songs for Mary Poppins. Many were not used because sequences got cut. Imagine if this movie had 34 songs.
It's already long. I mean,
P.L. Travers was also very hard to please and had not wanted music in the film. She was, however, quite happy with Feed the Birds. The Sherman brothers used vaudeville music as an inspiration for their songs, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So the first song we're going to talk about is Chim Chim Cheree. The film opens with Bert, a street performer who gives the audience a taste of several songs that will appear later in the movie. As he sings to random people in the crowd, he notices a change in the wind and realizes that Mary Poppins is on her way. He sings a few lines of his signature song, Chim Chim Cheree. Although the song gets much larger feature later in the movie, it resurfaces throughout. It acts as Bert's leitmotif, and each time he sings it, the lyrics change. It's essentially the theme song of the movie, capturing the sweetness of the story, but also the mystery and the magic. When Mary Poppins and the children come across Bert in the park, he sings the same melody again to a song called Pavement Artist. Bert sings about being a screever, which he says is an artist of highest degree. Bert then shows the children the magic of putting themselves into the chalk drawings. At a pivotal moment in the film, the children run to Bert after having issues with their father. Bert explains to the kids that their father might need a little help, and as he walks the children home, he sings a longer version of Chim Chim Cheree, a sweet song about how lucky a chimney sweep is. Though the job is messy and difficult, his outlook on life is positive. The idea for this song came from a sketch of a chimney sweep whistling and carrying the broom over his shoulder. The Sherman brothers saw it when they went to meet Walt about the songs. This tune won the Sherman brothers an Oscar for Best Song.
very,
Yay.
very good. I adore this melody. The way you put it, as it has such a mystery and magic to it, is absolutely perfect, because it's not a sad song, but it has like a minor key type feel to it, where it's like, I don't know,
It's wistful.
It's wistful. Yeah, that's a good word for it. And you just want to know the next line.
Yeah.
And he sings it at varying speeds, and it's just like, you know, it lends itself to having things be mysterious. Just the melody alone.
The song really sets the tone for the whole movie.
Yeah.
Because we hear it very early, very in the beginning, and we even hear a choir sing it before, you know, in the overture, before we even get into, you know, where Bert is. And we hear it, so it sets the tone, and it really frames the movie from Bert's perspective.
Yeah.
And it really shows how Bert sees the world. And that's like a very important part of the story. Because, you know, Bert's perspective and the way that he sees things obviously is what ultimately is the final thing that really changes Mr. Banks's mind about his life and what his legacy should be and how he should spend his time. And, you know, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. The song sounds like smokestacks and cobblestone, and you know, it has that like early 1910s sound, and it has that air of mystery and wonder that Bert has, because he's kind of this very innocent, you know, just happy, loving character who just kind of bippity bops through life, you know, kind of like a dirty fairy godmother, and just kind of
I mean, doing all these odd jobs.
Yeah.
The next song we have is Sister Suffragette.
Oh my goodness.
In this rousing first official number, Jane and Michael's mother comes home singing Sister Suffragette, establishing her as a woman within the movement. During the song, Mrs. Banks recruits the cook and the maid, while Katie Nana is trying to let her know that the children are missing.
Yeah, the children have run off again.
Yep. Those pesky children.
And she's had it. She's done with it. She doesn't even care where they went.
Nope.
I'm out of here.
Oh man, this song is fun, and it's a fun introduction to this character and how wacky this household is.
Right. I love some of the bits. I can't remember if she mentions it here or later, because she goes to these suffragette rallies multiple times. But she's like, oh, it was wonderful. So-and-so got carried off by the police. It was amazing. It was like, that's very funny.
Yes.
Just to
So
be,
inspired.
Yeah, just the whole thing is, it doesn't matter if somebody, was technically arrested. It's just like, we're making a difference. We're forcing their hand, you know?
Yep.
So.
I mean, she says she has to go sing to the sisters in the jail and all that.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Keep their spirits up.
And then, of course, that line.
Yeah.
Like, we adore men individually,
Yes.
but
Right.
we agree that as a group, they're rather stupid.
I mean, yes. Yes. The next song we have is The Life I Lead, or A British Bank, or A Man Has Dreams. It's kind of all of those together.
We kind of just decided to put all the songs that had the same melody together.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens a lot in this movie.
Yeah.
It does, which is part of what makes this movie so wonderful and beautiful, because all the music kind of melds together.
Yeah.
But it makes it difficult to talk about. When Mr. George Banks arrives home at the beginning of the movie, he's singing The Life I Lead. Like Chim Chim Cheree, the melody of this song resurfaces throughout the film to illustrate Mr. Banks's character change.
Yeah. Each time the song comes up, it's a little different.
Yeah.
And, but the thing about him is that, the first couple times you hear it, he's still like the same,
Yeah.
Right.
And so like when it changes, it is like, it's a really big, drastic, like this is different.
Yeah.
The song A British Bank is another iteration of The Life I Lead. Mr. Banks sings the song because he feels as though the children are not aware of the seriousness of life and have been going on frivolous outings.
Yeah.
Yeah, he believes that they should learn his trade at the bank.
A British bank is run with precision. A British home requires nothing less.
Yes.
he says that specific line, I think, multiple times. One to Mary Poppins, and she's like, "Oh yes, I agree.
Oh sure,
Yes,
sure.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Like, bye.
Yes. So they're going to go to the bank with you. Perfect. Yes.
Oh, that's right. That's how she
Yes.
gets him. Yep.
Yes.
And she's like, oh, so then you should take him.
Yeah. Near the end of the movie, Mr. Banks gets a call from his boss and learns that he will likely lose his job. He sings A Man Has Dreams as he realizes that his life's ambitions are slipping away. Bert is present at this moment and joins in, forcing Mr. Banks to come to terms with the cost of prioritizing his job over his children. Using the same melody that Mr. Banks has been singing throughout the movie, Bert sings, "You've got to grind, grind, grind at the grindstone, while childhood slips like sand through a sieve." Bert's use of Mr. Banks's song illustrates how he's finally getting through to him.
Yeah. He kind of cycles through some of the other melodies.
Yeah.
But he really starts with like, oh no, I am on your side. I get it.
Yeah.
And he sings the same melody because it's like, see, we're on the same page.
I agree.
I'm right here, and
Yeah.
he's kind of in a way repeating his words back to him, but just, obviously not exactly the same word. He's paraphrasing.
Yeah.
He's like, no, I understand. Like you're way too busy to spend time with your kids.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they're not going to be young forever, but absolutely. You're right.
Yeah.
He says it in just the right way to make him realize, like hearing it back,
Yeah.
it makes him realize how dumb it is.
Yeah.
It's like,
How kind of
okay.
too much he's being.
Yeah.
All right, next we have The Perfect Nanny. At the beginning of the movie, Mr. Banks arrives home to find that the children's nanny has quit and they must find a new one. As Mr. Banks lays out his requirements for a nanny in a Times advertisement, little Michael and Jane want to have a say in what their next nanny will be like. They would like a nanny that plays games with them, has rosy cheeks, and to be kind to them. Frustrated, Mr. Banks rips up their advertisement, but Mary Poppins receives it anyway. Yeah, he tears and throws it in the fireplace, and it swoofs up the chimney.
It's such an interesting, the way he does it too.
Yes.
The actor did such a good job here because he's doing something so cruel, and it's like it's so dismissive.
Yep.
And he does it in a very nonchalant way. Like he literally, he doesn't make a big deal. He's not like screaming or, he doesn't just throw it into a fire.
Yeah.
He just kind of like talking about what they're going to do. And he's just like ripping it out. Oh, that's nice, children.
Yeah.
Yes, go upstairs.
Yeah.
I don't care.
This is silly. Okay.
And then he just like rips it up and he just tosses it into the fireplace.
Yep.
Like it's just the way he does it really makes it seem that it's like, this is something he does all the time.
Yeah.
He didn't even think twice about it.
Yeah.
He just,
Yep. And it seems like he always rips it in the same way. Like he has a very precise way of ripping things.
Yeah, and he just doesn't even consider like their feelings and just, and yeah.
We thought you would, That's why we wrote this advertisement.
Advertisement for what?
For the new nanny.
You wrote an advertisement.
George, I think we should listen. You said you wanted our help.
But go very well.
Wanted a nanny for 2 adorable children.
Next, we have one of probably the more famous songs from the movie,
Yeah.
A Spoonful of Sugar.
Bum, ba-dum, bum, ba-da-ba.
After meeting the children and taking their measurements, they begin a game. She calls it Well Begun is Half Done, or Let's Tidy Up the Nursery. She turns cleaning into fun, a skill we all wish we had.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
It is true. I found
Yes.
that my whole life. I've always, there's something fun about most chores.
Yeah.
About,
Yeah.
and you just gotta like figure out what it is.
It is, yeah.
The Sherman Brothers wrote a clever juxtaposition in the song. Mary sings down on a higher note, so essentially the song goes up when she says down, because Mary always does the unexpected.
I love when like the room goes crazy. It's very Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Yeah.
When the kids are like kind of overdoing it and they're snapping too much
Yep.
and things are
Yep.
going, and then everything gets a little nuts, and then at the end,
Yep.
Mary's like, "That's enough," and then the little cabinet goes, beep, beep.
Like, does it one last time?
Yeah. Next up, we have Jolly Holiday. During an outing with the children, Mary and Bert magically jump into a chalk painting and explore an animated world. Once in the chalk drawing of a beautiful English countryside, Bert and Mary Poppins send the children off to explore while the pair catches up. Dee Dee Wood, one of the choreographers, thought it would be wonderful to have the umbrella and cane do the same dance as Mary and Bert. She said that someone should stop her from making these suggestions because that was impossible. Not for movie magic.
Yes.
But someone told Dee Dee to never say the word impossible at Disney. They made the cane and umbrella move.
Yeah.
And it's such a nice little thing because it doesn't happen
is.
right away.
No.
They like set them down, continue on, and then the cane and umbrella are like, hold on, we can do that too.
Yeah.
And it's really good.
That's very sweet.
It's so cute.
The whole sequence is fantastic.
Yeah. So the next song is an even more famous one, I think.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
Oh, do you just feel better
You said
saying
it.
that?
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary, Bert, and the children compete in a horse race where Mary wins first place. To describe how she's feeling after winning, Mary Poppins uses supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. The music style for this song was boiled beef and carrots, which is an old English folk song, as well as Any Old Iron.
Yeah, it kind of combines the
interesting.
melodies and stuff of those. We will link to them, so if you want to listen to them. But it is kind of interesting hearing the original kind of like thing. Is it boiled beef and carrot? Yeah, I can't remember how exactly it goes, but it's very similar.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, this song has a very like festival, fair, calliope, carousel kind of sound to it.
100%.
Yeah.
The amazing word came from the Sherman Brothers youth when at summer camp they had held a contest to find a word longer than the longest word in the dictionary, which was anti-disestablishmentarianism. They wanted Jane and Michael to come back with a non-tangible memento from their adventure, and this word came to mind.
I did for the first time really notice this time when they were doing the race and like with the fox being chased, the fact that the fox was Irish.
Yes.
And then I believe they're probably like English setter dogs. And then like
they're British.
men in red coats chasing the Irish.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I know more about history and stuff now. I can make these connections sometimes.
This scene took so many takes to film that the props department let Karen and Matthew, Jane and Michael, choose what flavor of toffee apples they would like. By the end of shooting, they had tried raspberry, chocolate, and cinnamon, but were tired of them all after 2 weeks of filming.
Oh, man.
Because they're just like, they're licking toffee apples the whole time.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Like, I'm done. I don't want any
I'm
more.
good, actually.
Like, yeah.
Can
No.
you give me like a carrot or something? Just make it look like a
Something
toffee.
else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The next song we're going to mention is Stay Awake. Since the children are excited from the day's events, they insist that they cannot fall asleep. Mary Poppins sings this lullaby to help them settle down. It works very well.
It
Yeah.
works instantly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Within seconds, Michael's like,
Yes. And it's so funny, like the reverse psychology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Stay awake.
Awake. Yep.
Like, though the world is fast asleep.
Sleep. Yep.
Like, no, you stay awake.
Yeah. Yeah. You're good.
yep, you got it. Oh,
Yeah.
you're sleepo.
Oh,
Good
pity.
The next song we'll mention is I Love to Laugh. On the way to buy some fish, Andrew the dog alerts Mary Poppins about the condition of Uncle Albert, a man she and Bert both know, but that the children do not. This is so interesting. It's like there's this whole lore, this whole like underbelly of London, of this whole society of people that Mary knows.
Yep.
And like, you know, she talks to the dog. The dog raised random. He just shows
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
it's just like
he was introduced at the beginning of the film,
Yeah.
you know, with one of the people watching Bert,
Right,
but
yeah.
that was about
it's
it.
just like this dog just like hangs
Yeah,
out, you know.
yeah.
I also love that the children don't ask.
No.
No,
She
yeah.
doesn't explain.
Nope.
Yeah. Albert has laughed himself into a frenzy and is floating in the air. The group then joins him as they cannot help being filled with joy.
Oh, it's so good.
Aw, yeah.
And at first, Murray's like, you guys need to come down. But they're like, how about you bring that tea table up?
Yeah, we'll just hang
She's-
out up here,
She's
having a
like,
good time.
fine.
Yeah.
And she
They're-
just, she doesn't have to laugh. She can
Nope.
just fly. And
Yep. They're like, we know you can do it.
Yeah.
We know it.
Yeah.
Man, it's so cute.
Mhm.
And then the next song we'll talk about is Feed the Birds. The children have a big bank outing planned with their father, and the night before, Mary Poppins puts the children to bed with this song. She sings about a woman that sits in the steps of the church and feeds the birds. This is such a
Aw.
beautiful song.
Oh, it's so
Oh,
so
the melody is
beautiful.
unbelievably beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so touching. This is like a song you hear and you just can't help but cry.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
This, I think this is the melody they use in Saving Mr. Banks. It's kind of like the,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I
Which
know
that
it was in
makes sense.
the
Yeah.
trailer.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it kind of made the most sense for that.
Yeah. I mean, Walt loved this song
Yeah.
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. How it just was like the essence of this movie.
Yeah.
You know?
It really is. You know, it's just she sings the song to them, and it really the kids are like, okay, she's instilling this idea in the kids early on. You know, about helping others and being a good person, and you know those kinds of things.
Yeah.
And like you know simplicity and you know kindness and and then of course you know they go to the bank and
Oh my gosh.
the bank is the
yeah.
opposite of those things.
Yes.
The Sherman brothers asked for 30 minutes of Walt's time where they could play the song ideas that they had for the movie. At the end of the 30 minutes, Walt wanted them to play Feed the Birds again. Walt would ask them to play it many times over the course of filming. Play me the song.
Yep.
Yep. And then we'll go home.
Remind me why we're doing this again.
Yep.
Yeah, I
yep.
wonder if it's like, it kind of like reinvigorates him a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. The next song we're going to talk about is Fidelity Fiduciary Bank. Oof. That's, you know, got some nice alliteration there on that one. Mr. Dawes Sr., or Mr. Banks's boss, and Mr. Banks both explain why Michael should invest his money in the bank during their bank outing. Michael refuses, but when the money is taken from Michael, he accidentally causes a little run on the bank, as other customers hear that they don't want to give him his money back. Gilbert and Sullivan was the inspiration for this number. There's actually an international Gilbert and Sullivan festival, and it's in its 30th year already.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very nice.
So if you kind of go back and listen to some of Gilbert and Sullivan's music, you can kind of hear the similarities.
It's a very interesting way of them to try to convince the kids to invest their money because
Yeah.
they're like explaining these things that the money will go towards.
Yeah.
But none of it, a kid does not give an absolute crap
Right.
about any of the things they said. They're like,
Yeah.
it'll build roads in Africa or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, Dad.
Yeah.
Like,
He's like, I'm 9. Like, I have
Exactly. Like,
no...
and you'll invest and it'll
Yeah.
be good. And they're like, yeah, but I could help
I could
save
go
some birds right
I could
now.
go feed birds
I actually,
now.
feeding birds sounds super fun, actually. Like,
Yes.
yeah, like, I actually want to do that. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
The next song we're going to talk about is Step in Time.
Yes.
Right.
A busy Mrs. Banks asks Bert to watch the children while she attends a meeting. The children are pulled up the chimney, and Bert and Mary Poppins must follow them. This song is based on a classic English folk dance, Knees Up, Mother Brown. There were 6 weeks of rehearsal for this dance. Whew, that's a lot
boy.
of time learning this one.
A lot of step in time.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. That is a lot of time
Exactly.
stepping for stepping time. Yeah.
This scene was almost cut down to 2 minutes, but after taping and editing a rehearsal video of the dance, Walt showed the video to the person that wanted it cut down. He explained that it had to be done just like in the video, and he wanted to add some scarier elements too. So that's when, like, you know, Bert gets, like, swung over the building, like, past the building. That's, like, a scary moment.
It's like,
Gotcha.
whoa.
Yeah, and when he, like, does some tumbles and stuff. So it's like,
Yeah.
whoa, like, oof. The final length of the scene ended up being around 14 minutes, and that's like all the way till the end when they're like dancing off into the street away from the Banks'
Right,
house and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, gosh, this was always a very fun one to
Yes.
listen to.
It's kind of the, like, as far as the you know, musical or stage nature of this movie,
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
the peak of it.
Julie Andrews, her husband at the time, was the costume designer.
Yes.
And one of the things about Step in Time and like the way they moved is that you can kind of see her like
Oh,
Oh, right.
Yes.
her
Her
like under
undergarments.
stuff, which P.L. Travers was pissed about.
ooh.
But he kind of designed it so it would stand out a little bit. And
Yeah.
he like added a lighter color underneath.
I
And
thought
different
so.
layers
I was
to-
about to say, I feel like there was
Yeah.
a red layer that kind of stood
Uh-huh.
out.
To
and-
give her kind of like she kind of had a secret life. She's like maybe just like
yeah.
she's
Right,
not
right.
as prim and proper as people think.
I mean, she does ask for every other Tuesday off. You know, she
True.
was heading to whatever she was heading to, and then she got
Yeah.
caught up going with them on top of the roof. So
Yes.
the last song we're going to talk about is Let's Go Fly a Kite. The upbeat finale of the film features this lovely song about quality family time and flying kites. Mr. Banks has rejoined his family after losing his job and had a change of heart toward his children. The Sherman brothers drew a lot of inspiration from their father, who had also written songs like You Gotta Be a Football Hero in the 20s and the 30s. Their father's hobby was to make beautiful kites, which truly inspired this song.
Yeah.
That's so sweet.
I feel like this movie healed in some part a lot of trauma.
Yeah.
A lot of the
Yeah. Yeah. Whether they meant to or not, they kind of
Yeah.
used it as therapy.
Yeah.
Yep.
It kind of addresses this issue
Yeah.
because this is not like an issue that just happened in the early 1910s.
No,
Like
yeah.
this is
Been around.
Always.
this is an issue that's like persisted.
All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the reception and awards that this movie won. We already mentioned a few
Nice.
Oscars as we went
Yeah.
through. Mary Poppins' budget was about $6 million and grossed an impressive $102 million in the U.S. and Canada.
Damn.
And in the 60s, that's a heckin' heap of money. Yeah.
Yeah, help PL Travers because she
Seriously.
she's got royalties, and so this helped her because she was set for the rest of her life.
Yep.
Yeah. Mary Poppins has won 22 awards. The film won an Oscar for Best Film Editing, Best Effects, Best Original Score, and Best Original Song, Chim Chim Cheree. As well, Julie Andrews won Best Actress. Julie Andrews also won a BAFTA for Most Promising Newcomer to Leading Film Roles.
Is that still a category? That's so specific.
I don't know.
That is very interesting.
Maybe it's not. I'd have to look that up.
Pretty cool, though.
It is pretty cool. And I mean, it was right because I mean, she then went on to do some pretty awesome stuff after that. So
For sure. The film's music has entranced many and won 2 Grammys. One was for Best Original Score, and the other was Best Recording for Children.
Cool.
Very nice. A long-awaited sequel called Mary Poppins Returns came out in 2018. It starred Emily Blunt and followed Michael's family after the death of his wife and mother of his children. Saving Mr. Banks came out in 2013. This movie outlined and dramatized the struggle Walt had in securing the rights to make Mary Poppins and Pamela's reaction to it.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about this before, but it is a really nice movie. I do like it a lot.
yeah.
It has a lot of nice little things in it, and then there's a lot of dramatization and things. You know, you just got to remember it's a movie.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly. And a lot of making Walt look really good.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Yeah, they
you
make
know.
him look like a hero.
Yep.
All right, guys, we did it.
Woo, we did
it to the end.
it.
It's time for fun facts.
Oh, yes.
Yay. We kind of got away from the singing for the fun
Yeah.
facts. Kind of
Facts
miss it.
that are fun.
Fun. Woo.
Ow.
The film was an instant phenomenon with wonderful reviews. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious was a pop hit and made it onto the Billboard Top 100.
That is pretty wild.
Yeah.
Inventor Petro Vlahos was never able to recreate the prism required for the sodium vapor process.
Oh.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Because of this, there was only one camera that could achieve this special effect in all of Hollywood. Other studios fought to use it for several years after Mary Poppins premiered because the visuals were so stunning. The camera was also used in Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Oh,
Wow,
okay.
man.
Yeah, there's several instances of it being used after, but there was only one. Only one of these cameras existed.
Dude, imagine.
Yeah. So that's also why he really focused on perfecting chroma key and the blue screen and the green screen because he's like, well, we can't do the other one anymore.
Yep.
Oh, man, that's very interesting.
I know. In Julie Andrews' acceptance speech at the Golden Globes, she thanked Jack Warner of Warner Brothers for making her win possible. Everyone laughed, knowing that he was the driving force behind hiring Audrey Hepburn over Julie for My Fair Lady that year, making it possible for her to be in Mary Poppins.
Finally, my thanks to a man who made a wonderful movie and who made all this possible in the first place, Mr. Jack Warner.
Yay.
That's super clever.
At the reveal of the Walt Disney statue on Walt's 100th birthday, Richard Sherman was asked to play a few songs. One that he played just for Walt was Feed the Birds. During the song, you could see a bird fly down right past the piano out of the clear blue sky.
Oh,
wow.
That's very sweet.
Yeah.
So beautiful.
Any final thoughts? Any lingering thoughts?
I think it's a classic movie.
Oh, yeah.
That everyone should watch if you haven't already. I mean, it's one of the, like, beyond, you know, we mentioned when we did our Lion King episode how it was one of the kind of the pillars or the staples of Disney animation, right?
Yeah.
But I think as far as Disney, period, like as a whole, the magic of Disney, this is one of the movies that kind of holds that up. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because whether you think Disney is best at animation or best at live action or whatever it is they're doing, Mary Poppins is a beautiful mixture of both and kind of everyone working at their absolute peak. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those movies that kind of can't be missed.
It seems like everyone just had so much love for the story and the character of Mary Poppins. I mean, I think that, you know, it's not really so much an adaptation of the books. It's just kind of like they just kind of took the character and made their own story, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously pieces but that made it into the movie, but like really this is kind of like its own thing. And it's just, everyone seemed to just really be so passionate about this. And they knew that it was special and they knew that it was going to be incredible. So they really put everything they could into it.
Yeah.
I mean, these
Yeah.
songs are amazing.
Oh, so good.
I mean, in the acting, they couldn't have picked the better people.
No.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. And like we talked about, the music throughout just kind of flows you through the whole story. The characters are wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just brings back childhood.
It
You just
really
watch
does.
it and you're just like, oh.
Mary Poppins is one of those movies that will never truly get old. It has a timeless quality to it that always manages to tug at the heartstrings of its audience. There's something so reassuring about Julie Andrews' demeanor as she literally swoops in, ready to fix everything. She's a representation of the heroes of our youth, the people that we were convinced had all the answers, the adults that navigated life and somehow made it look easy. But it's not until we ourselves are in those positions do we understand what it takes to pull off such an illusion. The lesson that Mary Poppins teaches Mr. Banks is one that stays with you well after the film is over. It's a gentle reminder of how precious our time is and how it's the greatest gift we can give to the ones we love. So, if you're wondering how Mary Poppins measures up after 60 years, the answer is that it's still practically perfect in every way.
Oh. Yes.
I want that tape measure in real life.
I know.
I want to know how I measure up, actually.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that is a case closed. We would like to thank our patrons, Jacob, John, JD, Shelly, Anthony, and Bob.
That's right.
Yay! Woo!
Thank you all so
Thank
All
much.
right, thank you so much. We really appreciate you.
Yes.
Head to blackcasediaries.com for more content. We also have No Small Parts linked on there if you want to listen to that. And follow us on Instagram at Black Case Diaries Podcast. So we will see you later.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Feed the bird.
What did I tell you? There's the whole world at your feet. And who gets to see it but the birds, the stars, and the chimney sweeps?